Good evening and welcome to another episode of Business Today, a program on Channel I Rupavahini where we discuss business matters related locally and globally on Channel I Rupavahini. We do bring business personalities on Business Today. And let's go and see who our business personality today is.
Shamindra Marcelline, with 23 years of multifaceted experience in corporate and global banking, investment banking, retail banking, credit administration and operations management. Experience in product development, advisory, structuring and financing, credit administration and operations relating to the branch and cross-border business within HSBC Group entities. Expertise in designing and implementing new business initiative systems, procedures to enhance the overall efficiency of the organization in line with corporate business goals. Shamindra currently serves as the Director of People's Insurance PLC, People's Leasing Fleet Management Limited, People's Leasing Property Development Limited, People's Leasing Havelock Properties Limited, People's Microcommerce Limited and Lankan Airlines Finance Limited, Bangladesh.
Well, our business personality today is Mr. Shamindra Marcelline. He's the General Manager and Chief Executive Officer of People's Leasing and Finance PLC. Good evening to you.
Thank you, Kosala. Good evening to you too.
Yeah. So, first of all, you come to the People's Leasing at a very crucial time, just during the outbreak, and from a private banking sector. How challenging has it been, first of all?
Now you put me on a spot. Kosala, actually, I don't find it challenging. I've been in situations where I have faced bigger challenges. I believe that one cannot think that this is only the challenge that you're faced with. Having worked for a bank, international bank, which basically has groomed me and brought me to this position, I have faced many challenges. So I think it's a nice challenge to have. It's something very different that we are all faced with. I'm not alone in this challenge. This is a global challenge, and I think the opportunity now is there to come out of it. So that's what we're all working towards, and that's what I'm basically thriving in, to come out of this and drive the company to the next level of business that we want to get to.
Well, during the pandemic also, People's Leasing has been a company where it's been leasing towards the strategic transformation. How have you been handling it, especially during this pandemic? Because for almost 1.5 years things have been not moving the proper way.
Good question. I think I'll just put a few things in context. People's Leasing is a 25-year business. We commenced our operations in 1995. So this is in fact our jubilee year. It's a company which is built on passion. It's a company which has great people. We have a blend of experience and youth, and I believe that has helped us to face the pandemic and the fallout of it, rather with strength. What have we done differently? From a little office that we started with 3 people over the years, we become one of the leading NBFI players in the market, non-bank financial institutions, and we focused a lot on digitalization. So this pandemic started around, I think, March 2020, and since then we've been through this now almost 1.5 years, and it has brought many lessons to the table. So what we've done is, throughout the various waves of the pandemic that we faced, we've invested a lot in our digitalization process. We looked at running a very smart operation, and that has helped us to come through this. Now, despite all of the challenges, I must tell you that we recorded one of our best financial years. Our financial year ends as at 31st March every year, and that just shows the commitment and the passion that the team has. What are we doing differently? As I said, digitalization is an area that we are really focusing on, and looking to be nimble, looking to be agile in the way we carry out our business. So smart office concept is one area that we focus on, and I can basically go on and on. It's basically a combination of a lot of things. I can't spell out all of it because then my competitors will take cue from this and probably be better than us tomorrow. Nevertheless, I believe that to face the challenges, we've invested well, and the results of this will be seen in a few months, if not a year or so, because you don't expect results to come through immediately. And it's a combination of infrastructure that we basically gone into, our branch network, right sizing it, recalibrating the workforce, allowing them to work from home. I'm proud to say, as a semi-government institution, because we have a 75% ownership of People's Bank, and the balance 25% is listed on the stock exchange. We today are a company that 60% of the workforce can work from home. And when I say work from home, run their end-to-end operations. So we've enabled them with laptops and all the other infrastructure that they need to work with, which I believe no other government institution can today, put their hand up and say that they are in a situation like, or rather they are in a position as we are. So that has helped us to come through this process, and we believe that with all the other investments we are making investments in partnering digital or digitally enabled companies to allow us to basically operate in a bigger environment, and that you will see the results coming through in the next month or so with the announcements. We've invested in our own app. We have a fantastic online platform. So all of this has helped us to serve the customer. Customer centricity is a focus area, and they have also now started to basically use those channels, which has helped us, because no longer do you see customers walking through the doors now. This has basically given them the opportunity to also transact more efficiently. So we are ready for that, and in the next few months or so we'll be better off from where we are today.
All right. People's Leasing has been one of the main service providers, financial service providers for the nation. What is the vision that you would have for the next decade, especially coming in from, as you said, the new normal way?
Well, as a company, as a leading institution in the financial space, we will definitely want to consolidate ourselves further, and we also want to look at ourselves from a regional, international connectivity point of view. One of our subsidiaries is based in Bangladesh. As you know, Bangladesh is another growing economy, and we feel that we can leverage off that to build our platform to the other regional countries that are in and around Sri Lanka. We also feel that we have some of the subsidiaries we have yet not reached its true potential. We have a microfinance arm that can do much more, so we are revisiting and reviewing that entire operation. So all of this is to basically focus on SME, focus on areas such as IT, healthcare, education, agriculture, which we feel are the growth areas for the next decade or so. So we will make products more efficient, products more conducive towards those sectors, and also don't forget the women's sector. That's a area which I think a lot of us need to focus on, because they contribute immensely to the country. During, I think, the time of civil war that we were in, unfortunate, the 30 years, there was a lot of contribution by the female, society. And it happens even today. If you take the garment industry, you find that, they are the ones who are actively involved in it. So I think we need to come up with products and support their, initiatives, which we feel is an area that we have not exactly focused on in the past, and it's an area that we will definitely focus going forward.
Well, I was going to ask you what the target areas that you were wishing, but you now came up with the
Yes.
garment sector and all. But Sri Lanka is a pretty laid-back country in terms of going into new things and new things. How do you look at that? Like, say, what are the areas you would want to target more to try and bring in the your products to be active in the country?
Well, I think, again, I think it's a very good question. We can't be away from the globalization that is taking place, right? For us to be a country that competes and competes effectively, we need to embrace change. And we need to understand fully what is happening around us, so that is outside and inside. Transformation of people, mindset transformation has to happen, and that's an area that we are focusing on. And I think you need to be very open with stuff, and that's the policy that I basically run in the company. I think you need to be honest and open about, capabilities. As I said at the start, we have a great combination of youth and experience. In some instances, we may have to look from out and bring people in to get the right balance. And as I said, the mindset transformation. So once you start to open up and create dialogue, and you start creating awareness, people are quite receptive. I must tell you that this perception that when you talk about the public sector, you get this feeling of slowness or lethargy, which I think is the wrong perception, because I came from the private sector into a semi-public sector operation, and I must say that the people I work with are immensely talented. They are hungry for change, they are hungry for development and social upliftment. So I feel that if we provide them the necessary tools and the right direction, that the company and even the country, which has tremendous potential, can be at a different level altogether in a few years from now.
You think you'll have to have a cultural transformation in few years?
Oof. Well, I think we have a very rich heritage and a very rich culture. I think we just need to be a bit more adaptable, and that I think you can bring in with, as I said, openness. And I think the country does have the right qualities to go forward. I don't fully subscribe to what you said. I have to be very honest about it. I think it's the adaptability to the technical, the technology that we need to basically bring on board. And I think our people, Sri Lankans, are extremely talented people. We see a lot of our Sri Lankans in the tech industry. If you take the previous, areas like the health sector, the doctors, etc. It's just that I think we need to provide them the right infrastructure and the tools, and the rest of it will just basically flow through.
Shamindra, how would you scale your business, and in what direction would you want to scale it in?
Right. So the way I look at it is there are three pillars. There is a business pillar, there is a risk pillar, and there is a people's pillar. So investment will be basically onto those three pillars. Business, as I told you before, we will look at doing the right business. We will look at the niche areas which we haven't been, but we have the capability of getting in and doing well, and we will invest on that. The risk obviously comes along with the business, because that's what we are in, right? So we need to do the right type of business and price it rightly rather. And people, right? So how do you scale up a business? You need to have the right people. You have to have the right mindset. So you need to upskill the people. You need to invest in their development, which is what I've been doing, and which I feel is the most important thing. Because as I told you before, when I look at my team and I look at the hunger they have and the capability they have, all of them are mostly coming out of universities. They have degrees, they have master's programs. Some of them are even more qualified than me. So I wonder why they are not CEOs and I am the CEO, to be very honest, right? So the ingredients are there. So the scaling up will come through the organic and inorganic growth plans that we have. Organic is the area that we are doing and what we are doing well. I think there is still more efficiency that can come into that process. And the inorganic area is looking at opportunities, right? If you look at what has happened in the last few years, and especially the last year or so, lots of opportunities in the capital markets. There are mergers and acquisitions. COVID itself has basically given opportunities for investing in areas that people never thought of investing before. That's the way forward. So if we can take, or rather make use of those advantages now, invest wisely, I think the scaling up will happen in no time.
Well, I think this is going to be a tricky one. What are the strategies that you would want to use?
Oof. I think I'll have to give it in coded language. Strategies. Okay, so as I said at the start, one would be digitalization, right? So if I'm to just give you examples, again, today People's Leasing is a company that signs documents on electronic signatures, right? We don't use wet signatures anymore. Now why do we do that? Because if we have to restrict our movements tomorrow and face certain challenges, it can be COVID today and it can be something else, you know, in another year's time or so. Even if you're working from home or any other place, you know, you can sign off on documents, right, without having to physically sign on the document. And you know, that means you need to have people to transport the document, you need to sign it, you need to send it back, etc. We also move into a paperless concept because we are very conscious about carbon footprint. So what do I mean by paperless? We put some targets and we said by 31st of December we will achieve 65 to 70% where all our internal memos, all our internal correspondence is no more on a piece of paper. It's all on a default e-memo which we send up and down with the various approvals and whatever we need to basically get across. What does that mean? Less paper being, you know, basically ordered, less trees being cut, you know, more eco-friendly, you know, I mean the green type of, you know, approach. And even the branches going forward, we would look at as much as possible to use solar power, to look at the reduction of water wastage, right. So you have all these sensor taps, and I'm going to the nitty-gritties to just explain the type of investment and thinking that we are now putting behind our entire branch network, right. Do we need big branches? Do we need, you know, because today digital technology means that, you know, you can do business from anywhere. So typically my sales force, they can work from home, you know, and they can travel and meet their clients from home and then send all their reports and whatever the, you know, information that they need to send through digital means that gets processed at the head office or the regional offices. What are we doing about the head offices and our branch network? Well, you know, something that I learned from HSBC was hot desking, right. We don't need to hire buildings. I mean, I need to look at shareholder return, you know, I need to look at staff well-being, as I said, training and development. So when, you know, there are other challenges, you have to look at how you run your bottom line, you know, your cost line rather. So we are going into a smart office concept at head office where there would be hot desking, right, and that would mean that, you know, you have 600 people but only 400 desks, right, because we are enabling them to work from home, work on the run, so which means they don't actually physically need to come into office. So all of that would mean we reduce our rentals, right, so the wastage or rather the excessive spending on, you know, brick and mortar reduces, and also we look at all the other operational matters. So when you have documents going through digital forms, you don't have to worry about, you know, courier services and, you know, storage facilities that goes with all of this. So hopefully all of this, the benefit of this would be seen and would be felt in time to come.
Well, another thing that I would like to, when you take the finance sector and the leasing sector in Sri Lanka, if you look in par with the other countries around the world, where does Sri Lanka stand?
Well, I've had an opportunity to work in a close by regional country, and I've had the opportunity to travel with the regulator and various other stakeholders when we went on, you know, road shows for investment purposes. And I must tell you, Sri Lanka is pretty much ahead of the game. I mean, although we think otherwise, we are very technologically advanced, and with things like, you know, the cashless payment systems coming through, the QR system, and you know, I mean, I think banks and even some NBFIs have already started investing in electronic KYC, right. I mean, these are the signs of progress, whereas some other countries haven't even thought of it. So I think we are on the right track. I think in Sri Lanka in general are very impatient people, you know, I mean, they see something and they get excited and they think, you know, we must do it. But I think the regulator also is playing a very crucial role here in ensuring that we do it in a very prudent manner, right, that we don't rush into something and then the fallout is, you know, quite steep.
Well, you all launched a new digital banking platform recently, Shamindra. Let's talk a little bit about how.
Sure. So, well, firstly, what I like to tell you is that it's a 100% homegrown product. I have a fantastic IT team, very competent, and that just shows the capability of, you know, Sri Lankans. So they came up and they developed this whole thing from A to Z, right. What are the features? It covers financial transactions, it covers insurance transactions, and it covers lifestyle transactions. Now the thing about all this tech, and I'm sorry, I mean I'm also quite I'm not tech savvy rather, my son is more tech savvy than me. So what happens in this case is that if you bring out something, it has to be simple, it has to be accessible to all, right? And I think that's where the whole concept was, or rather it was developed around that concept. So for example, now people find it very difficult to remember the account numbers in banks because they run into 12 digits, it's like an American telephone number, right? Here what you do is you just tell the remitter, you can send the money to People's Bank or rather to People's Leasing, and I'll give you my mobile number. So you just give your mobile number, and the mobile number is synchronized to your account. So you know your mobile number in most instances, right? So you just give your mobile number as the beneficiary account number, and the process basically synchronized to credit your account, and transact. You can buy insurance then and there. So if you go buy a vehicle, or if you purchase a vehicle, before you take it out, as you know, it's by law you need to have an insurance. You can just basically use the app and buy an insurance, get into the vehicle and drive, because the insurance already been paid for and it's all there in record. So then it's trilingual. It can be accessed by communities that are comfortable in speaking in Sinhalese, Tamil or English, and there are many more features basically that have basically been implanted in that. So we feel that's the way forward, and that's going to be the tool that we are going to use to transact.
Well, looking at finally the success that you look in another 2-3 years, totally different from.
Well, I want the shareholders to be, or rather the company to be admired, and the shareholders to be very proud of the fact that they are associated with the company. For our competitors, we want to be an example, right, for them to emulate, and for the regulator and the our custodian, the Ministry of Finance, we want to be a benchmark, a company that they can refer to as a model. As I told you, I want this to be a typical successful financial PPP, a public-private partnership. 75% we are government owned, 25% we are owned by the public, right? A perfect model for the country to showcase something that can be used as an example for others to follow.
Well, I think Shamindra, that's a very good point that you brought, because there's a lot of talks that being privatized, getting public and semi-government and all that has become an issue. Like people keep talking, it might go into certain different area. But according to you, you feel that working in a company like this, I think there's no real problem of this.
No, I don't think so. I think it's again in the way you think and in the perception, right? See, there are a lot of people who stay out of the system and criticize the system, right? Saying, look at how the public sector works. I mean, my request to them is, if you're so, fond, or rather if you are wanting the public sector to really improve and become efficient and agile, then why not you also get involved and try and do something. Right, because I'm bringing my experience of having worked for a multinational, financial institution, and sharing that. I don't have to worry about talking about leasing because I have my experts there. They will teach me about leasing, right? They are subject matter experts. They will, whether it's leasing, finance, whatnot. But what I'm trying to do is to guide them and share the best practices of an international conglomerate, a financial conglomerate, which I think is being taken up very well. And as I told you at the start, people are hungry. They want to learn. And if you show them the right way, if you're open, honest and transparent with what we learned as courage, as integrity, I believe that the public sector also would be very much on board, and perhaps might even be more efficient than the private sector.
I think these are very good points that have been shared with us by Mr. Shamindra Marcelline about People's Leasing, how they have their workforce and how they work things out with the public, and with the new digitalization banking platforms, how easy it would be for people to access anything with just their fingertips. So I think that's something that we will be looking for in the new normal and the way forward. Thank you very much, Shamindra, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Kausala. Thank you very much, and very nice to have been here. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, with that, we come to the conclusion of today's episode of Business Today. Hope you had a very good insight about a lot of financial points. So till we meet again in our next episode of Business Today, it's good night.